Oh, that was a terrible clap. That was a way better clap. Hello, hypothetical audience. So here we are. We're going to continue our 2024 tier lists. And I know I said after the one yesterday, I was like, I'm going to take a break, maybe like 30, 45 minutes, then I'm going to do another one. And I was really looking forward to it. And then I just ended up doing something else that took way longer than I expected. And then had to do something else after that that took way longer than I expected. I was super exhausted. I've had a very long day at work today, but I still wanted to do this because I still have 4 of these left to do. I would like to do 1 in this sitting. If I can get through it quick enough, I'm not gonna actually try to rush, but either if I can do it fast enough or I feel like I still have the energy and motivation, maybe we can get 2 done in this setting, but if I can at least get 1 done right now, I will be happy. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we are going to do the 2024 tier list of just the stuff that I read. Can I? Oh, okay. So it automatically takes me over here when I hit stop. Okay, sorry. Just to learn technology, just like how I'm trying to learn LA traffic and how to drive in the Mini Cooper. And I fit a car, but I'm a very long bitch. So having to actually fit this more compact car, it's interesting. And you know what else is interesting, hypothetical audience? Freaking Alice. We've been pretty decent segue to talking about Alice. So, if you're familiar with my tier lists, let me go over the tiers real quick and how I generally try to do things. At the bottom, we have Snoop Dogg. That is, as I always say, not an indictment on Snoop as a person or at his music. It's a reference to the song Drop It Like It's Hot. If it's in the Snoop Dogg tier, it means I dropped that shit and didn't look back. F tier and bottom of the fucking barrel. We don't even have them in this list, so I don't need to talk about them because I don't feel like anything even Project Horizons. If we'll get to Horizons, we get to Horizons. It's not going to go there. D means it's disappointing. It's kind of mediocre. Honestly, I don't even know if I'm gonna have anything in that tier. C, I'm neutral. It's fine. It's kind of whatever. B means I respect it more than I like it. A means I really liked it. S means you're a contender for being my favorite of whatever we're talking about. So you are one of my favorite things I read. The double S, the king shit. This is the best thing I read in 2024. So we're going to start with Alice in Wonderland, both the first one and Through the Looking Glass. I'm not officially putting them in B, trying to put them in the middle of the screen, and then we'll go as we go, you know? So, my history with Alice is, I've seen the Disney movie, I don't know how many times, not to the degree of something like Hercules or Lion King, or I have no idea how many times I've seen those movies, but it's probably around the double digits or so with Alice, or like very high single digits. And for a long time, I just didn't get it. I just didn't love this movie. It's fun, it's colorful, it's creative. Like I love a lot of the set pieces. I love a lot of the characters. But I'd always just kind of hated that there was no real plot, or she just wakes up and she gets out of everything. It just never really did it for me. I like the Tim Burton movie. I had a really good time with it. I was like, "Oh, this is really cool." I like it's like a darker version of Alice in Wonderland. I haven't he's Alice, but I'm really interested in it because it sounds super neat. Um, Ruby Volume 9 is an adaptation of Alice in Wonderland, and it's my favorite season of Ruby by far, not even close. And part of it is just a lot of the stuff that happens in Volume 9, and part of it is, yeah, I am a sucker for a lot of the ideas and the characters and set pieces that you find in Wonderland. I love Wonderland and Kingdom Hearts just because there's a lot of just weird bizarreness to it. It's kind of what you expect. Also, I love Spirited Away. And to me, it's clearly not one to one, but Spirited Away to me kind of feels like this is Hayao Miyazaki's version of Alice in Wonderland. And it will kind of always, I mean, Spirited Away is arguably my favorite movie of all time. And the fact that it reminds me a lot of, I guess that Alice reminds me a lot of Spirited Away gives it a lot of extra credit. But then when Clay and I did our Disney marathon and we watched every animated Disney movie and we got to Alice, and it was something I was like, all right, it's time for Alice. I'll have a good time, but I'm not gonna love it. I was howling with laughter. This movie is so damn fun. It's so funny. It's so the line that I was, like, quoting for probably weeks is the Queen of Hearts just saying to Alice, like or I think Alice first, she's like, "I'm thinking," and then in the it says, "Be sure to curtsy when thinking, dear. It saves time." And I was laughing so hard. Why? Um, the fact that I've always had, like, a thing for Alice stories and finally loved the movie made me say, "Okay, it's time to read the books. I'm gonna do that in 2024." And this was genuinely one of the first things I did. I remember reading the books, like, I think while watching playoff games, like, this was January or February. I think it was a little bit of both when I actually did it. So, getting into the books themselves, if you've seen the movies, if you're familiar with Alice stuff, you've more or less read the books. It's definitely not one to one. There's some characters that don't always show up in adaptations, like the Duchess and what was it, like her child's like a giant pig, I think, or the mock turtle, which I think there's like a deleted scene of the mock turtle in the Walt Disney film. I feel like I've heard of that before, or it's like it was considered, but the scene wasn't quite finished, or something like that. But a lot of the characters you're familiar with, like the Tweedles, although they're not in the first one, they only show up in the second one. And my beloved Walrus and the Carpenter and Cabbages and Kings. I just always fucking love that show. If you if you enjoy the Disney film for what it is, you will enjoy the books. It is bizarre, it is silly, and it is just, let's just have an adventure with no rules. And yeah, it's like, she wakes up and it's all a dream, and does that get her out of trouble scot-free? Sure. Does it feel a little easy? Sure. But I had genuinely so much fun the last time I saw the movie, I didn't care, and I was having so much fun reading the books that I genuinely didn't care. My favorite scene from the first book, that is the one where this is the scene that I've told people about, I'm like, "This is the funniest shit," is so Alice is, like, playing croquet with the Queen of Hearts. At one point, the Cheshire Cat shows up, fucks around for a bit. I don't remember what it is he does, but he makes the Queen of Hearts super mad, so she goes off with his head. And then I think the cat just takes off his own head. He's like, "Hey, let me help you with that. Save you some effort." And like the executioner gets called and is like, "What? He's already missing his head. Like, the fuck am I supposed to do? I I feel like my job is done for me. I've never cut off, I've never executed something without a head." And then the King of Hearts is telling him to do it. And I think the Griffin shows up, take Alice to go see the mock turtle. They hang out, and then she comes back. And the second Alice steps back up, the queen runs up to her, the king runs up to her, and the executioner runs up to her, and they're all talking to her at the same time. And the executioner is going, "I have never once in my life executed something without a head, and I refuse to start doing it now." And then the king goes, "Yeah, I know he took his head off, but the cat still has a head. So if he still has a head, you can cut the head off. You can execute. You got to do it. It's your job." Then you have the queen behind both of them saying, "I don't care whose head is next. One's gonna lose their head." And just they're all screaming at Alice at the same time. It's like, what just get into? And it's gold. My favorite scene from Through the Looking Glass, I guess aside from again my beloved Cabbages and Kings, is Alice meeting the White Queen, who it was like she can see the future. And she's from what I remember, she's, like, wearing all of her clothes backwards, and I just really love that aesthetic. And there's a point where they're talking, and then the queen just screams, she's like, "Oh, my finger!" And Alice looks, and the queen's finger is completely fine. She's like, "Look, why are you screaming?" "Because I'm gonna prick my finger in the future." "Then why are you screaming now?" "Because it's going to happen." And then they get to the point where she pricks her finger, And she doesn't scream, like, "What? But you just pricked your finger, it hurt. Why aren't you screaming?" "Well, dear girl, I've already screamed about it. It wouldn't help to do it twice." Duh. Just love that. Like, I love it because, again, like, it's just kinda weird, but there's honestly something to kinda glean from that. There's something about worry and about focusing on your problems, and, like, sometimes you're stressing about shit that's coming that you think is gonna happen or you know is gonna happen, but then by the time you get to it, maybe it's not so bad anymore. Or because you've already gotten all that stress out and all that frustration out, while the thing is still really bad, maybe just as bad as you think it is, it's not really gonna help you to be stressed about it anymore. And I really like that. I'm gonna put both of these in S. Like, I had such a good time reading them. I genuinely don't have a favorite between the two. They're both fantastic. Let me get Clannad. So, oh, I guess I should probably give a spoiler warning. I mean, like, Alice has been around forever. Like, you're probably familiar with a lot of the stuff in Alice. I don't feel bad for spoiling it. I'll go and say full spoiler warning for everything else here on the list of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoilers are live. Now we talk about Clannad. So I feel like I have to say specifically, this is a ranking of the VN and not the anime adaptation. And that's really important. I made a video recently. This was like November, maybe December. Like actually pretty recent. Was it early January? No. Anyways, where I talked about my favorite anime, and I made like here's my list. Here's like my alternates. Here's my actual top 10, which was technically 11, but eh. And Clannad was really high. I don't remember exactly where it was. I think it was number 5, it was maybe number 4. I don't think I put it ahead of Gurren Lagann. I can make an argument that maybe it should be, but Clannad is more or less in my top 5. It is a show that I love. It's a show I adore, and a lot of that is actually just emotionally devastating. There's this one scene. I know I said full spoilers, but I'll try to keep spoilers relatively light unless I really have to. It's the daddy's arms scene. It's Tomoya and Ushio. I don't know how I didn't cry the first time I watched it, because I literally cried every time since. Anytime I just am watching the show, I will cry. Anytime I need to cry, I will watch that scene, and it will get me every time. It is immaculate. I think the VN is fine. The To me, I don't wanna say the VN doesn't work, because that's not quite true. But the reason for me it doesn't work nearly as well is because Clannad is not a time loop. I mean, it kind of is, maybe. I feel like the VN presents itself as a time loop, but it's not a time loop where your main character keeps his memories every time. He's like, "All right, I'm actually trying to get better." It is not a story where he's like, "I'm gonna make this person happy. Like, I'm gonna make Kyo happy, and now I'm gonna do the next loop with the knowledge that I've made this person happy, and I'm a better person. Now let's try to make my other friend happy. Now let's do Tomoyo. Now let's do Sanai and Akio, et cetera, et cetera." It's just kind of here's this route, like I guess this possibility of Tomoya's life. And that's fine. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. But to me, the biggest theme of Clannad, it is like family and like your found family and all of that. The other big theme, to me, it's growth. And you really see Tomoya grow as a person. And you see as he interacts with all these people and he starts to let them in, they start to make him better. And in the anime, where even though like he doesn't end up with Kyo or Tomoyo or Kotomi, he still becomes their friends, or I guess in the case of Kotomi, her friend again. And again, they make each other better and they make their lives more fulfilled. And all of these experiences build on each other. That's not how it works in the VN. And again, I don't want to say like the VN just doesn't work at all because of that, but for me, the experience feels less fulfilling. Like I don't want to say it's hollow, but it feels notably emptier than it does in the anime. After Story is still beautiful. Everything with Nagisa is great. Everything with Ushio is great. I still cried reading the Daddy's Arm scene. I think I was also watching a playoff game. I think that was like Chiefs Dolphins. I'm like going through After Story, get to Daddy's Arms, fucking cry. And I'm watching playoff football. Um, Honestly, I feel like I want to keep the VN in B. If I hadn't seen the anime and didn't have anything to compare it to, maybe I would rank it higher. I might put it in A. I don't know if I would quite put it in S. The anime would go up in S if not double S, but this version of Clannad, I think I need to keep it in B. You know what? I'm gonna move it up to A because the flip side is gonna be in B. Ah, I discovered Class of '09 last year. It was specific. Wait, was it last year or was it 2023? That's right. Sorry, getting years mixed up and wires crossed. The end of 2023 because I read the first game the day the FNAF movie came out. Because I watched Five Nights at Freddy's and then read Class of '09 like right after. And it was great. I had a blast. And as soon as I was done, I read what's this? The Re-Up. No. Is Re-Up the sequel or is Re-Up just the name of the remake? Now I don't remember. But anyways, I read the first game. I read the sequel because I got them together. They were fantastic. I was very excited for the next one. And I'm not crazy about it. I don't hate it, and I know a lot of people do, and I get why. Class of '09 is a very mean-spirited experience, and that's kind of the point. I think that's what makes it very fun, but I genuinely feel like there is heart to it. And to me, what the heart of it really is, here is the story of a fundamentally broken human being trying to cope with it. And her coping mechanism is making other people as miserable as she is. That does not make Nicole likable. But there's something to empathize with here. And I don't want to say that Nicole often gets what she deserves because when you look at some of these routes, like, no, Nicole might be an awful person, but she does not deserve that. But in some of the routes, you're like, okay, yeah, you accused a teacher of being a pedo, and the only one that wasn't. Took him all the way to court based on bullshit. Yeah, you kinda deserve to get fucked with after that. Then you get the flip side, though, where you're not watching this broken person trying to compensate for it. You're watching a relatively well put together person. She's not in a great situation because she has an incredibly abusive father, which is the main joke of the flip side is him saying really violent, fucked up shit to her. And if you don't find that funny, you're probably not going to be laughing a whole lot. I wasn't laughing a whole lot. It's a lot less there's not a whole lot of choice, and then there's, like, this interactive AR weird shit where I don't remember, there's being like, "God is watching and you're God, and you're making them do these things because they don't matter, you're awful." I'm like, "I what are you talking about?" Like, if you said this in the first game where there's a lot of choices and a lot of, like, really fucked up ones, like saying to Kyler, "Sorry, I only date guys who can" that would feel deserved. Putting it in this game where you don't have a lot of choice, some of your choices actively don't matter, and there are literally no good endings, feels very hollow. I don't remember what I had said about it in my video. I think I specifically said, like, it just feels pretentious, like, it's not interesting, it feels like I really have something I wanna say, but because of the way it's delivered, it just doesn't work. And I don't wanna say the flip side as a whole doesn't work because I feel like it's supposed to be these are very unhappy stories. In the first 2 games, we focused a lot on the humor to make it a lot more palatable. Here, we're not doing that anymore, which is why it feels so bitter and unpleasant. And I don't like that direction necessarily, but I do respect it, which is why I put it in B. So now we get oh, I was actually trying to put it in the middle of the screen. Now we have Dune Messiah. So Dune Messiah, old Paul Atreides, what is it, Lisan al Gaib or something like that. Uh, okay, my neighbors are being uncomfortably loud, and I don't I don't really know what to do about this. Uh, Dune Messiah. It's, what is going on? Um, I think I'm gonna stop right now. I'll I'll continue this maybe like tomorrow. I'll see ya.